Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow. Hey, guys, if you got any friends or family that you think would enjoy the content here, please share the video with them. Ask them to like, subscribe to the channel. Also, ask them to comment in the comment section down below whenever they see a video, whether they like it or not. I'm okay with both types of feedback. I actually build off of that feedback, the positive feedback and the negative feedback. Of course, when the negative feedback is simply the people making personal attacks, I like that because I enjoy playing that game. I never said I was too good to stoop to that level. I will stoop in a heartbeat to the lowest of low levels, and I enjoy it. But nevertheless, the comment section is a lot of fun for me. I'm very active in the comment section, at least the first couple days. But nevertheless, if you guys would please ask your friends and family to follow the channel to help it grow, because YouTube does not seem to be a fan of this channel. Trump has been like a wrecking ball when it comes to wasteful spending, and I think people are starting to understand that. Trump administration orders sweeping freeze of federal aid. We've been seeing this unroll for a little over a week now. In a 2-page memo, the Office of Management and Budget ordered all federal agencies to temporarily suspend payments. And you'll remember that the left lost their mind when they did that. They made up lies and saying, oh, kids are not going to have free lunch. None of that stuff was actually in there. It was just something to get people wound up, because remember, a lot of the wackos on the far left are too stupid or too lazy to do any real research on their own. So really anything that a far left wacko says to them, they're going to take it and run with it, even though in many cases in that very first paragraph, exactly what they're lying about is debunked in there. First, guys, go check out my friends over at Gideon Optics. These guys make some very, very nice, high-quality optics at very affordable prices. You guys know the economy has sucked for 4 years, and Gideon Optics has filled a void where you can get affordable, high-performing optics at, again, a very affordable price. I enjoy them. I've run some of these red dots on my A300 shotgun, my 1301 Benelli shotgun, and it never loses zero. These things hang on tight, and you don't have any issues going back to zero. So check them out, Gideon Optics. Don't forget to use my discount code FTATF. Again, FTATF when you go to Gideon Optics website. So one of the biggest culprits that has kind of exposed itself, I don't know if it was accidentally or if it's just that bad, and maybe it is just that bad, is USAID. This is an organization that pilfers through, and I mean that word the way it's supposed to be used. They pilfer through this big pile of taxpayer money, and they give it to people, in most cases from what I've seen, who don't deserve it and don't need it. DOGE, or more commonly known as Department of Government Efficiency, came out a couple of weeks ago and posted that USAID spends $40 billion of taxpayer dollars to fund foreign aid, and they highlighted a couple. $45 million to DEI scholarships in Burma. So we can give a scholarship to a one-eyed, bow-legged midget in Burma, and that's going to help the United States in what way? I'm just curious how that benefits us in any possible way. $520 million for consultant-driven ESG investments in Africa. Yeah, another one of those big globalist type initiatives that only hurts American businesses. Never, ever helps Americans or American businesses. And $1.2 billion in awards to undisclosed recipients. Yeah, undisclosed recipients is always a problem. Always, especially when it's the overwhelming number sitting out there. How does that even happen? How does anybody in the federal government leave anything undisclosed with the auditing that's expected of us? You undisclose something on your taxes, good luck with that, telling them, oh, that's undisclosed. Congressman Mike Collins posted last week, the Biden administration awarded, get this, $15 million in taxpayer funds to Taliban-controlled Afghanistan to help distribute contraceptives. So we gave $15 million worth of rubbers to Afghanistan. No, we didn't do that. We know we didn't. That's what's on the subject line. I think the Orthodox Muslims over there probably frown a little bit on Western contraception. So I don't expect that that's being used over there. It's a nice cushy thing, and it's difficult to talk about, so people usually will see that on a subject line and walk away from it like, I don't want to talk about that. You know, if it said something more specific, in terms of a desk type job, people probably would dig and ask more questions, but not many people find it appropriate to talk about rubbers, right? I mean, let's be honest here. So it's easy to put that at a subject line that nobody will choose to talk about. But we know that's not what's happening over there. We know there's not $15 million worth of rubbers going to Afghanistan. And on top of that, why is anything going to Afghanistan? I understand the CIA wants to keep certain regions destabilized, but why are we sending anything? Let the CIA take out of their own little budget and do whatever they want over there. But I'm appalled as an American taxpayer watching hungry veterans and veterans who do not have the appropriate care wander around this country aimlessly when we're shipping $15 million just this once for allegedly rubbers to people in the desert. Now, there was a little bit of a dust-up that happened, and the media, of course, did not portray this properly. Here's a headline: nearly 400 USAID contract employees laid off in wake of Trump's stop work order. Well, this was only a partial truth. USAID security leaders on leave after trying to keep Musk's Doge from classified info. So what they're trying to do is, these people were told, hey, we're going to give Musk and his folks, which is perfectly fine, access to go find wasteful spending. Now understand what we're looking for. We're not asking him to go uncover top secret stuff on somebody and have classified information. We're wanting him to look at unclassified information and root out and find wasteful spending. That's what they don't want them to do. They fought them, would not give them access to the database that allowed them to look at all the spending in there. So the Trump administration said, fine, go home. That's where a lot of these layoffs took place. But the media is not framing it like that. They're framing it like, Trump's laying everybody off. He actually wasn't. In fact, these idiots go home with full pay and benefits. That always pisses me off, but it is what it is. Until they find any real illicit behavior there, then they're likely going to go ahead and sever those ties with those people. But I've always had a problem with the whole, we think you're bad enough to go home, but we're going to keep paying you and pay your full benefits, whatever. But that's what the whole story is there. That's not Trump just going in there and telling everybody you don't have a job anymore. That's Trump sending people home that refused access to the government system that Trump actually was elected to oversee. He asked them to go home and again still receive their full pay. Now, more seems to have happened overnight. This is that's certainly a moving target, there's no doubt. Overnight, I was actually pulling information off of the USAID website starting into mid-afternoon yesterday for this video. And overnight, I don't know what time, the USAID website is actually gone dark. If you go to Google, type in USAID, you'll notice what their website should be under the first category right there, U.S. Agency for International Development. If you click on that link or type in usaid.gov, this is what you're going to get. This website is not available right now. Now, whether these clowns who got mad because they are about to be exposed for the wasteful spending and the probably illegal and corrupt spending that they've been involved in, whether they took this down in spite or whether the federal government actually took the whole thing down. Because I might remind you guys that one of the rubs also against the Trump administration, because they realize the corruption involved in this USAID department, is that they are going to take this USAID department, instead of it being its own independent department, they're going to slide it under, I believe, the Secretary of State's department. So they're not happy about that. So it's possible that, again, the two options are likely, that the rebels took it down themselves, or the United States government is actually working on redistributing that USAID organization and sliding up under the Secretary of State. I'll also remind you that if you're on social media, you can go look for their X account, and it doesn't exist either. Now, we've often talked here about the gun control efforts of the world trying to be pushed down onto us from a global standpoint. The United Nations, check out my helmet with the bullet hole inside of it. have long wanted to institute gun control here. They do not respect nor like our Second Amendment, but quite frankly, there's nothing they can do about it, and they can cry and suck an egg because I don't care and nobody else cares that supports the Second Amendment what the UN thinks about anything inside the borders of the United States. However, that doesn't stop them from pushing, and that certainly doesn't stop the rest of the world from pushing. The reason why most people probably don't want to jack with the United States is because there are so many of us who are unapologetic about defending our country and our borders, regardless of who's at the helm in the White House and how crappy of a job they're doing. People still don't want to jack with you guys out there who are packing. That's a known fact. We all know that, right? So what happens is a lot of money, and in this case, we're seeing it too from U.S. aid, is being taken from the American people and pushed out to different organizations, whether globally or even within the United States borders, in the form of gun control initiatives. I went to usspending.gov, and notice over here I typed in the search word gun safety, and a lot of stuff popped up whenever I punched in gun safety. I took the time frame from Joe Biden's term in there. I took January 1st of 2021 to January 1st of 2025. Felt like that was a nice even number, so that's what I punched in, again, searching for gun safety. The top company that popped up was the CNA Corporation. I'll be honest with you, there's not a whole lot of information on them online other than they're a nonprofit organization, and they do way more than gun control. It sounds like these people make gazillions of dollars out there off of the American people, and all they do is make the world feel good about themselves. They don't really do anything. They don't produce anything. They don't control anything other than money, and they're pretty much a feel-good organization, and I can imagine the homes that these people live in because, again, no real expenses other than a website and cute little t-shirts and letterhead on your paperwork and stationery, so they don't really have any expenses other than travel, partying, and homes. You can see that in that time frame that I identified that there's $105 million that they made last year alone. And again, they are out of Arlington, Virginia, just so you know. So they're right there in the hip pocket of Washington, D.C. and all the scumbags in that area. This was an interesting chart right here. If you look at their timeline of the money received over time from them, notice when it started, 2008. You know who was elected in 2008, right? That's right, your boy Barack Obama was elected. So they started in 2008 receiving free money from the federal government, and it has continued on. You see there's even money spent in 2025 so far. We're only a month into the year. So this company does really well off of the backs of the American people. Now, we're going to get into that 2008 year here in a second, and a lot of this is going to make a little bit more sense to you once you see what I'm going to disclose. But remember that number, that they made zero money before 2008. Once Barack Obama was elected, they started making money. Now, this was kind of interesting, too. If you look at the top 5 categories of different types of places that they receive money from, Department of Defense, a lot of money, $75 million. Department of Justice, $17 million. Department of Homeland Security, $10 million. Department of Health, $1.6 million, and not a whole lot from Pete Booty Pop over there with the Department of Transportation. Guess they didn't need much from him or didn't want to interact too much with him. Wouldn't turn my back on him either. But under the initiatives where I punched in gun safety, quote unquote, and I love to use that term because it's certainly an oxymoron and they never really promote any real safety. It's all gun control. I zoomed in to read a little bit about what the initiative was about. And as you can see, it's loaded with keywords: enhancing public safety, receive coordinated training and technical assistance to support violence reduction strategies, which there is no such thing, creating sustainable, I love that word, violence reduction strategies. Again, there is no such thing as a violence reduction strategy. If any of this included mentoring young men in inner cities, I would probably say, cool, nice work. But I guarantee you, and I don't have to look, $0 goes to that. They never, ever try to enhance mentorship programs or anything to help these youth in these inner cities where all of the real numbers of confrontational shootings actually take place. There is no major overwhelming danger of any kind of other type of, quote, gun violence outside of the inner cities and suicide. Yet nobody ever wants to do anything. Suicide, they really don't do anything with, because a lot of that has a lot to do with medication. They certainly don't want to piss off the big pharma people, and they don't want to make the inner city moms mad either, so they don't ever go after any type of mentorship program to help these young men in these inner cities to keep from shooting each other every couple of hours during the evening. So it's essentially a big smokescreen from these guys. This is hundreds of millions of dollars wasted and pissed away for these nonprofits to make a ton of money and live in big, nice 10,000 square foot homes. I wanted to show you during that time frame that I punched in there for, quote, gun safety. Look how much money was spent by each of these organizations. The Department of Justice during the Biden administration spent $257 million to nonprofits and the like. That's a lot of money just to make people feel good about themselves. Again, maybe they make a couple of PowerPoint slides, a t-shirt, and a couple of cool logos and design a website. That's all they do. So this money, in most cases, is going straight to payroll dollars. Department of Health, same thing. We're keeping people healthy. We're trying to prevent the next pandemic. That's what they always try to use. They're trying to wrap pandemic around, quote, gun violence so they can enact different types of measures. That's a whole different story. But a quick side note, you know how we've talked about some of the bogus studies that have come out from these anti-gun places, universities, and organizations? Johns Hopkins is one of the main places that the federal government has spent a lot of money to get them to put out anti-gun rhetoric. It's always stupid, silly little reports that make assumptions, and they're trying to prove a negative, which they can't do. They say, by spending this money, we prevented this many deaths, gun-related deaths. That's completely impossible to ever. I don't know why we even discuss that, because you can't prove that. How can you say you prevented a death? It's not like you saw it about to happen and you hurried up and injected money into it and then that prevented that death. There's no way to know if you prevented anything. Heck, for that matter, you may have caused something because you put money in the wrong place. But there's no way to prove or show that you prevented a death, yet these people continue to put reports out stating that. Well, our friends at Johns Hopkins are receiving some of this same taxpayer money from this same USAID organization, and it's your money to be used against you. So far, they've received $3.4 million of the promised $15 million of the Biden administration. So this might be a really good opportunity for the Trump administration to go in there and nix the rest of that $11 million that they're essentially waiting on at this point to continue to get paid. This is something I've already sent to Elon and Vivek Ramaswamy to ask them to look at it. As you know, there's a Doge website where you can submit things for them to go look at, and I've submitted this because this will be a great place to cut $11 million out of simply making another propaganda report that's full of lies. Now, I talked earlier about the year 2008 when Barack Obama was elected, and all the money that the CNA company or corporation, whatever it's called, was making during that time. Again, they were making $0 before 2008, started making money then, and continue to make millions and millions of dollars, hundreds of millions of dollars during that time frame since Barack Obama was elected. Well, guess who was in charge of U.S. aid during the Biden administration? Obviously, she gone now. But guess who was there for the last 4 years? You might remember this alien-looking woman, Samantha Power. Samantha Powers was a Obama cabinet member. During the Obama administration, Samantha Power was the United States mission to United States ambassador. She is the one who did a lot of Obama's dirty work abroad during all of that time. She worked for the State Department. She was one of the ones you probably saw her during interviews and things like that, standing up there lying about things, especially money going overseas. So what happened was, essentially she worked for Obama directly. Trump went into office for 4 years. Biden came back in, which was essentially a quasi-Barack Obama administration. They plucked Samantha Power back and put her in place again, but in this time, basically handling the purse strings of U.S. aid. So a lot of things are making me wonder, with this website being taken down last night, yes, I strongly believe, and it's very likely, that it is the Trump administration that took it down to completely revamp it. Now, it's a little bit unusual to revamp it. Those of you out there that are in website land, it's not like this is a database. It's not like that this is some kind of, you're not doing data entry into this website. So it's not like you're building a whole lot of back-end stuff on that. Pretty much that website for USAID was simply pretty pages, that about us pages, and pictures of the cool stuff they've done. In other words, it wasn't a functional website. It didn't do anything. It was simply an online billboard, if you want to call it that. So really no reason to, quote, take it down unless you're just mad like the Trump organization. I don't see why they would take it down. Usually you revamp it behind there, the look of it, the specific names, who's in charge, what maybe the mission statement is and all that. And then when you get all that completed, you just update the new website. So the old one stays out there until you update the new one. Taking it completely down until you're ready to put the new one up just seems a little unusual to me. I don't recall seeing that. Again, maybe the Trump administration is just that aggravated with USAID to do that. But it would not shock me if the people pissed off, like the Samantha Powers out there, like those people, taking it down to try to get rid of information. Because remember, I'm not sure if you guys saw this, but a very similar thing happened with the Treasury Department. Treasury Department is the Treasury head is a person who stays in place for their long term. They don't change with the administration. They overlap various administrations. It's not a 4-year appointed like a cabinet position in a presidential cabinet. This person decided to resign from the Treasury, and they did this because they were the passwords and access to the Treasury Department system was requested of them. They refused to give them. They refused to give them access that would show proof of what's happening in the Treasury Department. So like a petulant child, they refused the access and quit. So at this point, nothing would surprise me, because usually when administrations come in, they do the same dirty work as the last one, and they cover up for each other's secrets. At this point, I don't think that's happening. So I think there's a lot of people running scared right now, trying to cover their own tracks, and there could be more to Samantha Power bailing on this USA department, and there could be more to this website not being available to us right now.